Hello Year 5. Today we're going to be looking at the area of rectangles. So before we do anything, I would like you to warm your brains up a little bit. I'd like you to pause the video and see if you can do these calculations. Okay, well let's go through these answers together. So a certain centimetres equals 90 millimetres. Well, we know that there are 10 millimetres in 1 centimetre, therefore it must be 9 centimetres. Number 2, 30 is equal to 6 times something. So I need to think, well, 6 times what gives me 30? We know that the answer is 5. Number 3, we're looking at squared numbers. We know that the squared number tells us how many times we need to multiply our number by itself. So 5 times 5 is 25. Here for number 4, we need to do the inverse. Something times by itself gives us 100. Well, we know that 10 times 10 is 100, therefore the answer must be 10 squared. Good job if you got those all correct. So we're going to use this grid to help us calculate the area of a rectangle today. So here we have our dimensions of each one of our squares. So each length and height is measured at 1 centimetre. So this is the same as multiplying our height by our width. So 1 centimetre times 1 centimetre is the same as saying 1 centimetre squared. However, when we are talking about area, we have to involve a metric unit. So 1 squared, centimetre squared, is written as 1 centimetre with a little 2 just up to the right hand side of our centimetres, and we say this as 1 centimetre squared. So here we have a similar rectangle, and we know that the squares in the grids are the same because we still have our unit of measurement here in the corner. So what we need to do is we need to work out what is the area of our rectangle. So we need to look at the length and the height. So we have 2 rows as our height, and we have 6 squares across in each row. Now we could do what we looked at yesterday, and we could count all the squares, or we could do it an easier way where we multiply 2 and 6 together. So we know there's 12 squares altogether. 2 times 6 is 12. Equally, 6 times 2 is also 12. Now, we don't write this as 12 because we're looking at area. So the area of the rectangle is 12 centimetres squared. We need to show that using the correct value. So we would write it as 12 centimetres squared. So you need to remember to write the little 2 next to your centimetres. Here I'd like you to pause the video and see if you can fill in the missing gaps in our number sentences. Okay, so we need to count the rows. If we count the rows, we can see we have 3 rows. There are 1 square in each row. Altogether, we have 3 squares. So our multiplication number sentence is going to be 3 multiplied by 1, which gives us 3. Equally, it could be 1 multiplied by 3, which will also give us the same answer. Therefore, the area of this rectangle is 3 centimetres squared, but we need to write that in its correct form. Therefore, we write 3 centimetre squared. You should now have all the information to be able to have a go at doing questions 1 to 3 on your worksheet. So in previous lessons, we have used the squares as a basis to help us calculate the perimeter and area of our shapes. But we don't need to use our squares anymore. So we know that one of the lengths of our rectangle is 3 centimetres long. The other side is 7 centimetres long. So what's an easy way to be able to work out what the area is of our rectangle? You are correct. All we need to do is multiply those two numbers together. So 3 multiplied by 7, well done, is 21 centimetres. However, I feel like I might be forgetting to do something. I haven't written it in the correct form when we are looking at the area. So I need to rewrite my answer as 21 centimetres squared. Well done, Year 5. Pause the video and have a think about how you're going to work out the area of this rectangle. Okay, you may have noticed that both of our numbers have different metric values. One has centimetres and one has millimetres. So we need to make a decision of how we're going to change them so that they are the same numbers. So the easiest thing to probably do will be to change the millimetres into centimetres, which would give us 2 centimetres, because we know that there are 10 centimetres in 1 centimetre, therefore 20 millimetres would give us 2 centimetres. Now both of our numbers have the same value, we can now work out the area of this rectangle. All we need to do is 4 multiplied by 2. This is going to give us 8 centimetres. Equally, we could do 2 times 4, which will also give us 8. But remember, we are looking at area, so it's 8 centimetres squared. Here we have a square. Now this square might confuse you because it's tilted at a bit of an angle. But those lines written on the sides of our shape indicate that they are 4 equal sides, and therefore it must be a square because we know that squares have 4 equal lengths. This only gives us 1 unit of measurement and tells us that only one side is 9 centimetres. Do I have enough information to be able to work out the area of this square? You are correct. We need to use 9 centimetres for all of the lengths of the side, which means that this length must also be 9 because we know a square, all of the sides are the same. So all we have to do is 9 multiplied by 9. And then we know 9 multiplied by 9 is 81 millimetres squared. Now we could break that sentence stem down even further, because here we are multiplying 2 numbers that are the same. So this is also going to be a squared number. So we could rewrite this calculation as 9 squared is equal to 81 millimetres squared. So when we use our squared units, we know that with 9, that little 2 is the same as what we use when we talk about a squared number. Here we have another rectangle, and both parallel lines have been labelled as 2 metres long. How are we going to work out the other measurements? Because we have 2 of the opposite lengths that are the same. Now we can't multiply these together to give us the angle because we need one of the measurements of the adjacent line. Now an adjacent line will be another line that comes in at a perpendicular angle. See if you remember perpendicular. So this is going to be one of our other lines that joins at a 90-degree angle. So we need our line that's going to be at the top of our shape. Okay, Tiny says that the area of this rectangle is going to be 4 metres squared. Have a pause and think and explain why you think Tiny is incorrect. Well, we've already identified that we needed that top line up there, therefore we need to know the measurement of the adjacent line. So we can't work out that one without that additional information. Now, based on that fact, we have another rectangle here. However, we don't need to work out the area for this one. We already have the area given to us. However, we do have a missing unit of measurement. So we need to think about how we're going to find that missing number. So first, let's explore our shape and think about the information that we already know. We know that the area is going to be 72 metres squared. And we know that 6 metres multiplied by something was going to give us that answer. Now, if we visualise this in our head as a bar model, we have the 72 on the top of our bar and our 2 bottom numbers. One of them is 6, the other one we do not know. So how do we work out what that missing number is going to be? Well, we could divide. So we could work out what 72 divided by 6 is. So I need to think, well, how many 6s are there in 72? And of course, the answer is 12. Now, how do you think we might check that our answer is correct? So we could do the inverse. So now what we could do is we could multiply 6 by 12 or 12 by 6, and that should give us the answer of 72. That's how you will know if your answer is correct. Now, have a pause of the video and think about how we're going to work out the missing length of this rectangle. Okay, so this rectangle, again, we have the area given to us, and we also only have 1 unit of measurement. Now, I know that it's 1 times something that's going to give me 17. Now, thinking back to our arithmetic skills, anything times by 1 is going to give us the same answer. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know my 17 timetables that well off the top of my head. But I don't think that's going to matter here because I think I know what 1 times of any of the timetables are going to be. So if I do the inverse of 17 divided by 1, I'm pretty sure the answer is going to give me 17. So 1 times 17 is going to give me 17. Therefore, my missing number must be 17 centimetres long. Now that we've gone through the entire PowerPoint, please have a go at completing the rest of the questions of 4 to 8. Have a go at the additional challenge questions, and if you really want to challenge yourself even further, have a go at accessing the extension challenge. Good luck!